Vanderbilt and Kentucky get set to do battle Saturday afternoon in Nashville. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Doors and the Cats. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, guys. We are inching ever so close to that 30,000 subscriber mark. We can't do it without your love and support. Also, make sure you check out our friends over at FanDuel because, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Who knew when we looked at this Vanderbilt-Kentucky game on the schedule and the preseason what the implications would be? On one side, and I can't believe I'm saying this, we might have the hottest team in the SEC coming into Nashville from Lexington because the Kentucky Wildcats are on a roll, winners of 3 straight ball games and on the verge of punching their ticket to postseason play and a bowl game. Meanwhile, it's Vanderbilt. You know, the Cinderella story. Not so much Cinderella anymore, sitting at 8-2, and their college football playoff hopes and dreams and aspirations. Well, they need to win their last 2 ball games to have a shot to reach that 12-team playoff, and standing in their way, Big Blue Nation. It ain't round ball season quite yet in Lexington, although it is, but the focus is still on football. Vandy, Kentucky, doing battle here in Nashville. I'm Chris Phillips, joining me as he always does to break it all down. My co-host, colleague, partner in crime, one of the best in the business, Mr. Cole Thompson. Bear, once again, a couple weeks ago, I didn't think I'd have a lead-in or any way to hype up this game, but all of a sudden, man, I can't believe it, but Kentucky has risen from the dead, taking down Auburn, Florida, of course, this past weekend, Tennessee Tech. Now they find themselves sitting at 500, a place that I don't know that any of us ever thought they would get to before essentially early in the season when they started at 0-0. Now all of a sudden they come in red hot, but Vandy certainly bigger goals, bigger dreams, bigger aspirations. It's a must win for the Doors. It's going to be a fun one at FirstBank, man.
Chris, I have to take a moment to remind everybody what a special day is going to be on the horizon out at FirstBank Stadium with one Diego Pavia's final home game, with one Babiaga's final moments in Nashville. I can't handle it, man. It's too much. No, I mean, listen, this is the game to where I feel like that if you're Vanderbilt, you've been building toward this moment. People are still doubting you. They're still not respecting you. They still want to believe that you're the same old Vandy of the past. And at some point, you've got to be able to come on out and swing against the lesser opponents. But the better point is, this is a better opponent than what was initially envisioned at the start of the year. So can you not win against maybe an Alabama, but can you win against a surging hot team that right now is finding its identity, it's finding its groove? And what did you learn over the bye week that's going to be able to put you in a better position to where you know for a fact this is enough for us to go and make a deep run of the playoff? Like, what were some things that we had to work on that we were able to fix the little details, and now we're in the driver's seat and ready to go on a run and close out the season on a high note, whether or not the College Football Playoff Committee believes that we belong in the playoff?
There's certainly a lot of storylines I want to get into that you just touched on. A 2:30 kickoff on Saturday, though, airing on ESPN in Nashville, Tennessee at FirstBank Stadium. Bear Vandy, a 9.5-point favorite in this football game. The over-under set at 53.5. That, of course, coming via our friends at FanDuel. Kentucky leads the all-time series 48-44-4. Last meeting came a season ago. Vandy won that game by a final score of 20-13. Bear, I might have to change my travel plans. I honestly, I knew it, but sort of forgot it. Diego Pavia's final home game. How dare I leave this great city when Diego Pavia, 10 minutes down the road from me, is gracing the field in Nashville for the final time? Because we don't think Vandy, even if they go 10-2, highly, highly unlikely they get a home playoff game. I would love nothing more, obviously. Dude, starting there, there will be time for us after the season to do this. I don't want to spend a bunch of time, but man, when you say Diego Pavia's final home game at Vanderbilt, it does make you stop and think about his entire career. there, and his entire body of work and like the impact he's made on that program the last 2 seasons and the legacy that he's created and built. Man, dude, I tell you, if I had any doubt coming into this conversation with you about, who's going to win this ball game, I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. Like, is there even a remote chance this man's losing his last home game at FirstBank Stadium? I mean, is there it's hard to envision. I've got to be totally honest with you. I would expect him to play like a man possessed, which he typically does anyways. But hair on fire, it's going to be just a different level for Diego Pavia Saturday, knowing this is the last one for him there. So stoked to take it all in. So stoked to take it all in one last time in Nashville.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a Vanderbilt team that is more than just Diego Pavia, but the identity that everyone has followed behind him has now allowed this team to kind of take that next jump forward and truly embody what is, we don't care about anyone, what they have to say about us type of mentality. We're here to win. We know we can win. We know that we're in a great spot and that we're going to be able to build this on. But again, it all starts with him at quarterback. The problem is that we have seen incredible growth over the last few weeks from Cutter Boley as a starting quarterback for Kentucky. And we have seen the play designs from Bush Hamdan really kind of get a little bit more involved. And I think that we've seen more continuity when it comes to the offensive personnel for Kentucky. So when you play with fire and when it gets hot, it eventually starts to spread. And that spread can come all the way out into Nashville and just ignite FirstBank Stadium early on in the matchup to where Vanderbilt's down. But at the same time, Vanderbilt has been down this season, and they've been able to work their way back in. Specifically, they've been able to work their way back in down double digits against teams that we know that they are better than on paper. And that's what we saw just 2 weeks ago when they took on Auburn.
Bear, you look at this game, once again, what's on the line for Vanderbilt? You got to win your last 2 to have a shot at the college football playoff. Another loss, and you're obviously knocked out. We talked about this last night when we discussed the college football playoff rankings. Hell, you're still fighting an uphill battle, even sitting with 2 losses, sitting at 14. I don't think that's something you can worry about and this team can worry about. You are right. It's a lot more than Diego Pavia. And I think the chess match between Clark Lee and that defensive staff going up against Cutter Boley and what they've been able to do the last few weeks, I mean, he's really surged, man. He's really come along really nicely. You also look at the rushing attack for them, Bear. They ran for 233 yards in their last SEC game against the Florida Gators. Now, granted, the rushing defense has been the strength for Vanderbilt. It is the secondary where they are susceptible. So really curious to see how Kentucky offensively attacks Vandy, but Clark Lee and company, you put a lot of faith and trust in them. They've been so good this year. And obviously at times, again, they've given up their fair share of yardage and points, but you feel really confident in a guy like Clark Lee, a defensive mind like that, to make the adjustments necessary. That chess match between these two, I think, is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see, can you just make Cutter Boley beat you through the air? And I think that's going to be the way Kentucky wins this football game, is because of how good the front seven has been for Vanderbilt. They don't allow a lot of explosive plays after contact. They don't allow a lot of running backs to break on open in the field. They've held several of the best running backs in the conference this year to under 100 yards. I mean, Ahmad Hardy, who just ran for 300 against Mississippi State, barely hit the triple-digit marker. So if you're able to slow down what we have seen so far in the last few weeks from Seth McGowan and Dante Dowell, then I think that you're looking at this team. Cutter Boley, for as good as he has improved, still has got to show you that he can win on the road in a hostile environment against a team that is honoring its quarterback and honoring its seniors for setting a new standard of Vandy football. And I don't know if that's going to be good enough, even when you know that they are susceptible to giving up big-time plays. So that will be a really intriguing factor. I think the other thing on the opposing side is, can we watch the explosives be on display from Diego Pavia in the passing attack? Again, we have seen at times this year Pavia take the game into his own hands, and that deserves a lot of credit. But at the same time, if you want to prove to everybody that you belong in the playoff conversation, like right now you're on the outside looking in, whether it be because you went to overtime against Auburn, whether it be because of they just don't believe in you because of the matchups that you've had, I want to continue to see more growth in that passing attack. 2 weeks ago, we saw Trey Richardson have that big 57-yard touchdown. 2 receivers go for over 100 yards. Can you continue to win in that standpoint? Because the thing that has really kind of changed for Kentucky Kentucky's pass defense has gotten better to close out the year. They've looked more polished. They've looked more clean. They've been playing more physical. So can we see the explosives that got Vanderbilt to this standpoint, where they are sitting at 8-2, where they still are in the hunt for the college football playoff? That can be back on display against a team that has been known for giving up big time plays downfield.
You think about Bear, Vandy coming off a bye week. Their last performance, of course, came against Auburn, the overtime win. They've had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. Could play a factor, obviously. I think you make some great points, man. And we know this. Listen, the recipe for Vandy. We talk every week, it seems, Bear, about playing Vandy football, but it really is true with them. There are few, if any, in this conference and in college football that embrace their identity more than Vandy does. Establishing the ground game with their running backs, obviously getting Diego Pavia active in and outside of the pocket, winning the time of possession, winning the turnover battle, doing those little things correctly. That is Vandy football, and that's what they've been so successful. And the times they've lost, they haven't done that. I mean, just flat out. So, I think Texas maybe kind of being an exception somewhat because of the offensive output. But for the most part, when they've lost games, which has been very few times this year, that has been the thing. They've kind of gotten outside of themselves a little bit. I wonder, does Kentucky have the athletes on the defensive side to slow them down again? 2 weeks to get ready. They are so creative offensively. I mean, I love what they do offensively. It's different than anybody, it feels like, else in this league. So I'll be really curious to see what that game plan is with 2 weeks to prepare. So, dude, is it not crazy how much the status of Mark Stoops has changed in a few weeks?
Oh,
We thought he was done, and now you can get, what would this be, a top 15 win? Vandy sitting in a top 15 win and punch your ticket to bowl eligibility. And boy, those combos around Mark Stoops would really be dead. So huge for him, huge for the future of the Kentucky program. This one will truly put any of the fire Mark Stoops chance to rest. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that the other thing that's really important to remind yourself of is that Mark Stoops, I think, wants to be at Kentucky. But at the same time, part of the reason why people were talking about him leaving was you're not making the necessary changes. To be completely fair, we didn't view Kentucky as being a team that could be bowl eligible this year. Like, the expectations in Lexington for 2025 are completely different than what we've seen in the past, where you get to that 9-win marker, you get to that 10-win marker. You're able to kind of turn the tides, and then you let us down. That's where the frustration kicks on in. But to make sure that Hugh Freeze is fired out on the Plains, to get a win against the former #1 quarterback prospect in the country and truly beat the brakes off him, to nearly beat Texas, to beat up on Vanderbilt, to then potentially win the year against Louisville, who, again, is kind of struggling at the right time. All these things show you that give Mark Stoops time, maybe things can change. And in a cycle like this, where there are so many unknowns, where there are so many questions when it comes to who is going to be the next head coach at certain places, and you don't want to go into these bidding wars, you're looking for reasons to hold out for the next year. This is a reason to hold out for another year with Mark Stoops.
Bear, it's going to be interesting, no doubt. That being said, let's lock in some picks. Let's lock in some predictions for this ball game. Would you like the honors, or you want me to start first?
I'll go first. This is very simple. I think that Mark Stoops and company have done a great job of turning the corner. I really do. And I think that there is a real shot that can still be bowl eligible without winning this game, because Louisville is starting to unravel in front of itself. I think that at the same time, you got to remind yourself that there was a reason why we had our questions when it came to Kentucky going into the year. They allowed far too many explosive plays defensively. They allowed far too many yards after contact when it came to the run defense. The offense was pedestrian, to say the least. And now it feels like, while it's hitting its stride, there's also going to be the question, will it plateau at any point? Is what we have seen on the climb up now about to go idle before we see the decline come back down? Or are there more layers to add into this passing attack? Are there more layers to add into this rushing attack? I just look at this from the perspective of Diego Pavia. Pavia ain't losing his last game at home. He just isn't. He knows that there is a playoff hope still alive. All the promises that he has kept to Nashville are still very much in the works. And the last thing that he wants to do is knowing that this is my final time playing in front of this hometown crowd. Because we're not going to get a home playoff game. Whether or not we believe that we belong in the playoff, at this point, it's just about getting there. Because we're not going to be able to host you. Everything is about leaving a message. Making sure that everyone remembers who I am. Why we got here to begin with. And I think, once again, he has a game to remember. I won't say he'll throw for 377. I won't even say he throws for 300. In fact, in my opinion, one of my best bets of the week is actually taking the under in this game, because I do have a lot of respect for what we're going to see for them running a time of possession, milking the clock, being a little bit more, I think, pedestrian when it comes to the offensive personnel. But I just think that defense is going to deliver for its quarterback, deliver for its city, deliver for its coach, who's a defensive-minded guy, and leave no doubt that going into Neyland Stadium, if we play our best version of Vandy football, we are going to finish with a 10-win season. So give me Vandy. Give me Vandy to win. Give me Vandy to cover. Give me Vandy to win this football game 31-13. I think it just teeters on that line. You see the defense deliver a performance, and you watch as Diego Pavia goes out a champion in FirstBank Stadium.
Short, sweet, and to the point, Bear. Kentucky's had a great run. I commend Mark Stoops and his staff and that football team for bouncing back when it seemed like they were dead. Every reason to kind of mail it in. On the verge of bowl eligibility now, but it's going to have to wait a week. You're going to be going into rivalry week against Louisville, trying to get that 6th win because you're not getting it on Saturday. I mean, just to echo what you said, Diego Pavia is not losing his last home game. And maybe even more importantly, Bear, that team is not letting Diego Pavia lose his last home game. Guys like Cedric Alexander, AJ Newberry, Junior Sherrill, Eli Stowers, you know, all these guys on the defensive side, like Clark Lee, that entire staff, like, you know, they want to get one, and they want to get this one for the team, of course, but they want to get it for him too, and send him out the right way, and send out a lot of these seniors and these veteran guys the right way, who over the last 2 years have laid the groundwork for this moment and the future of Vanderbilt football. I do think Kentucky covers the spread in this game. It's not like a best bet for me, but I think 9.5, they're red hot right now. I do think they cover. I think it's a one-score game. I will give them that. But Vandy ain't losing this football game, man. They're just, with playoff hopes on the line, with Diego Pavia's final hurrah at FirstBank. I agree with you. I think he has a big game. I think that Vandy has a big game on the ground in this one, and I think they're able to outlast Kentucky. Give me Doors 31, Kentucky 24. So maybe a little bit of higher scoring game, but I like Vandy either way to find a win, or find a way to get the dub. Diego Pavia sails off into the sunset, at least for a week. Better yet, sails off into Knoxville to try to finish the job and take what's his and punch his ticket to the playoff and beat the Vols. So I got Vandy getting the 9-2, getting the dub, 31-24 final, and a round of applause. And what a scene it'll be for Diego Pavia. What a scene that'll be, man. I mean, really, truly. Yeah, take a bow. I fully expect Diego to take a bow at the 50. Really emotional. I think it's going to be a really emotional day for him and for the fan base. And, you know, because even if you pick up another guy and the next guy comes in and you keep winning, there will never be another Diego Pavia.
Nope.
He's a once. Those guys don't come around very often.
I hope that they announce that the statue is already being built at the time that he touches the 50.
I hope so as well. So Bear and I both going with the Vanderbilt Commodores to beat Kentucky on Saturday, guys. What say you? Who do you think comes out on top at FirstBank, the Doors or the Cats? Guys, let's get it all for us. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in before we get out of here. Do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, it's NBA tip-off week. FanDuel's your home for live betting. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel's got live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now's the perfect time to join, because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Guys, we appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get out of here, as always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, all across favorite social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you all on the other side.